Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How do? How are we? Today we're gonna go into basically it's the probationary employee and their violation of corporate compliance policy and the signed contract agreement. We're gonna talk about the mere fact that the probationary person is on probation for a whole year, not 3 months, for a whole year. Then we're gonna go into the fact of their actions, where because of their position, they gave a directive that violate the corporate compliance policy through unprofessional and unethical conduct. It goes down to the point of intimidation and retaliation. There was an incident that occurred, and this individual felt that they can abuse their powers and authority with no regards to the corporate compliance policy or any rules or any laws. Said action to do so violated federal, state, and local laws. The individual, what they did is they said, don't allow this employee to park their vehicle in said parking lot, which is the employee's parking lot, which the employee was parking there for 2 years and a month before the probationary employee got there. So, in giving a directive to not let that officer or employee park in said parking lot, which they were assigned under contract agreement, would be an act of misconduct. Gross misconduct. We're going to say that because of the simple fact that prior to them giving a directive, they used their vehicle in a threatening manner towards that employee. Now, I don't know if they was trying to incite the employee to urge them to become aggressive towards them or whatever, but the mere fact of using their vehicle towards that employee brought about violations of Penal Law Code 120.20, which is reckless endangerment. It also brought about Traffic Law 1212, reckless endangerment. Both of these are Class A misdemeanors. So we up to 2 right there. The mere fact that the probationary employee came in, pulled to the side, and sat and waited until the officer was leaving, then used the vehicle in a threatening manner towards the officer, that would be constitute stalking. That's like 120, something like that. I'm not sure. I'll get it. But we're up to 3. The mere fact that it was done on on the grounds of the employer, who's a corporation. Different rules when you're a corporation. Brings about the fact of violation of brings about criminal liability of the employer, because the individual, the probationary employee, holds title. So we're going to go to 2020 criminal liability, subsection 2020, and then we're going to go to subsection 2025 because they hold title as far as an officer, supervisor, director. You hold title and you use your job in the wrong manner in doing what you was doing. In the actions that you do, so you're a public employee, violates social of subsection 19500 That would be official misconduct because you did it while on the property. You were coming into work, so you do hold title in management. So your actions in doing so would constitute violation of 195.000. The key thing is in your actions of retaliation, which is telling them not to let the officer park there, will bring about discrimination. And under that discrimination will bring about that federal law, that Jackie Robinson, I like to call it, number 42. You know who else wears number 42, right? Okay. That would bring up U.S. Code 42, deprivation of a right or privilege. You can't deprive people of a right or privilege. So that's the federal law. And with that federal law, based on the fact that the individual filed a complaint with the employer, there's a chance and an opportunity for something else to open up. Now we're going to give it a chance, and once the probationary employee kicked it in, I don't want them doing this, I don't want them doing that. Do you have any supporting document? No. Do you know that he's on the signed contract? I don't care. There it is right there. There it is right there. 110%. So since the supervisors and the officers that was at the gate told that officer that they were given a directive not to allow the officer in, right there, violate their rights. Right there. That goes to that Jackie Robinson. Because the officer told. He told. The key thing is it brings about retaliation. So you violate certain laws. First, you threaten someone's safety. Civil Service Law, Section 75B, whistleblower. And then you retaliated and said, don't let them park there. Retaliation. Another violation of the corporate compliance policy. Oh, we're not going to forget about the fact that you talked smack to the officer while he was off duty, which brings about by you illegally interrogating them, detaining them, and interrogating them, which is 135.60 under threat and coercion. So we're gonna go with those, and then we're gonna move in how we come up on the civil service law is because you then went in telling them not to allow the officer there to park there and deprive them of this right. You then went and filed charges on them for time and attendance that you caused, the latenesses that you caused. So the individual's getting there on time, but can't get into his assigned parking area. So much that the parking attendant came down, the officer was trying to get in, and he said, he rung the buzzer, and the parking attendant comes down, and he says, your boss says for you to go park in the transportation lot. On what grounds? The contract agreement is between the parking attendant or the parking company and the officer. When the officer parks at night, the lot is completely empty. So the mere fact of the probationary employee to do this is basically deceptive practices, improper governmental actions, abuse of his authority, harassment. We could go on with a number. We could go on. It wasn't till the officer said to the parking attendant, you're under contract with me. You are. There's a signed contract between you and I. And if we go to court with this, you'll lose. So he let him in. So the director or the probationary employee, I let it slip, came back, seen the vehicle there, and hit the roof. He's not supposed to be there. Why? Why? Please explain why. Can you? No. So you just want to use a bully tactic? Yes. Can't run that way. I don't know where you came from. You said you was NYPD. I don't know where you came from. But I do know this. You're here. the bully tactic is it's not gonna fly. If it does, then it comes about accountability. And for the employer to allow it, yeah, accountability kicks in place. You went the distance in this harassment. The real question comes about your employer, because he was a probationary employee, and the mere fact that you violated all of these rules, regulations, and laws, and yet still no disciplinary actions was taken against you. How did they allow you to remain employed for 8 years when you violated the employer's corporate compliance policy, which brings about the employer's rules and regulations, personnel's rules and regulations, based on the fact that you were a probationary employee? How do they turn their heads on that? I think we got to look at upper management on that. From your respondent superior on up. Violation of their due diligence as a public employee. The mere fact that it was reported to supervision and management is supposed to go to the corporate compliance officer, who sends it to DOI. The key of this is that there are people still suffering behind this. And it's a known fact that Mayor Order 16 was violated. You need to drop down Mayor Order number 16. It shows how DOI takes over and conducts all investigations, because no employee is allowed to conduct an investigation. So on that note, we're going to close this one out, because based on those facts alone, the facts cannot be altered nor denied. You know the deal. Have a wonderful day. Later.